Welcome everyone to the second Winterviews. I'm here tonight with the mighty Mito. How are you doing, Mito?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. I guess it's your birthday after all, so you must be feeling really well, right?
That joke is never gonna die off.
It's never gonna die. But yeah. So everyone knows when your birthday is, but not everyone knows much more about you. Tell us something.
Um, well, I'm a university student studying English literature, if that means anything.
Does it mean anything to you?
To me, it means something, but I don't know. Every
All
time I
right.
tell people that, they call me a loser for studying English.
Is that in Canada?
Yeah,
That's weird. Oh, you should, if it means something to you, then it shouldn't matter, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't care what they think.
oh, that's good. Actually, can you? I will start up a game called Mito's Interview. Can you join that? Just so people have something to look at.
Sure.
All right. So, and what do you do when you're not studying?
Um, well, I guess a lot of it is AoE 3. Either Age of Empires or I do a lot of reading too,
Hmm.
just for fun or just hanging out with friends, I guess.
All right. And do you still work at McDonald's?
I do still work at McDonald's over the summers.
Yeah.
Um, I first started working there when I was 13, and I'm 21 now, and so I stuck with them for a long time.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I just
So you
enjoyed.
you must be manager by now, right?
I am actually it's like a swing manager, so
Yeah.
I'm not like really in charge of anything, but
Uh-huh.
like on the floor,
On the floor. Yeah, I get it.
yeah,
Okay,
I don't
cool.
know. I've worked there for so long, like I just love my coworkers, so
Yeah. So if we're ever gonna do a Age of Empires get together, you must be the one that's gonna flip the burgers.
yeah, that'll be me.
All right. So let's talk a bit about gaming. Did you how did you get into gaming? Do you did you play?
Uh,
Yeah, tell.
hmm. Well,
What was the
when I
first
was
game that you played?
when I was younger, I guess the first like real game that I don't how do I say this? But the first game that I actually played a lot, I guess, was probably RuneScape
Hmm.
back in elementary school. Like some of my friends introduced me to it, and like a lot of young people, I got really into it. And then I remember a few years after that, I was starting to get bored of it, and I went on vacation with one of my families,
Hmm.
or one of my families with my family to visit other family members. And we were just going through this store once, and I saw this one game called Fate of the Dragon. It's a really old RTS game. I think it came out in 2001 or something. And I ended up buying it. And it was the first RTS game I'd ever played. And because of that game, several years later, I found Age of Empires, and I saw that it was the same type of game, and so I was pretty interested, and I bought it, and I've been playing it since.
So Age of Empires is kind of the one of the first games that you ever played on a PC.
Yeah, for the most part, I guess.
Because RuneScape is a board game, right? Or sort of like it's a
No,
card game.
it's an MMO actually.
Oh, really? It's is it? Is it? Oh,
It
but
is.
there's also a card game,
There
right?
is also a card game,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think.
Okay. I just know it from the card game, but um. So was it Age of Empires 1 or 2 that you started to
It
play?
was Age of Empires 3 actually.
Oh, 3. Okay. Yeah, you're a bit younger than me, not that much, but I guess it's
Yeah.
those few years that matter, I suppose. The first one for me and Sam was Age of Empires 2, but so did you play the other ones?
I've played a bit of AoE 2 actually with Ryan. we were trying to find something other than AoE 3 that we could play together, and he was trying to teach me AoE 2, and I was really bad at it.
Yeah, it's a lot harder actually. Or well, some things are a lot harder. Did you
Yeah,
ever
the age
play?
is
Uh,
ridiculous.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the age 1 mechanics in AoE 2 are insane.
Yeah, they're really hard. Did you ever play Age of Mythology?
I tried to. There was I don't know if you remember when the Mista was playing AoE 3 for a bit.
Yeah.
I ended up playing a lot of games with him in AoE 3, trying to teach him a bit about the game. And in return, he said he'd help me learn Age of Mythology, but I couldn't ever get it working properly on my computer. So
That sucks. That's one of my favorite ones for the single player, at least.
yeah, I was thinking maybe I might try playing it again with the new expansion comes out, but we'll see.
Okay. So, before we go on with talking about Age of Empires 3, let's talk a bit about ESO Community, the site.
Mhm.
You've worked on the Mac patch as well, I think, right? Were you on
Uh,
the team for that?
Sorry, what do you mean for that?
The patch 1.3 defend patch for Mac.
Oh yeah, so when we were playing on Mac, we were all using a Mac version of the old RTS Sanctuary fan patch 1.2. And pretty much every single TAD player on Mac used it
Hmm.
because, I don't know, the community was so small, it was just really easy to get people to adopt it. And eventually, a small group of players, like me, Kohensky, El Pistolero, they all have ESO as well. We started working on fan patch 1.3, which of course never made its way to ESO or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. Worked on that for a bit for the Mac community, and then shortly thereafter, I actually moved to ESO for the PK Clan tournament.
All right, good times. So you've worked on the Mac patch. Now you're working on the ESO community side, and sometimes you're doing casting. What's your secret? Why do you do these things? Are you really just a sweet guy, or do you have secret ambitions to become the next dictator after you depose Ryan?
I don't know. It's just a hobby, really. Like I really like Age of Empires, and I really like the people who play Age of Empires, and um, I think I think it's something. It's just something to pass the time, and I really enjoy doing it.
All right.
Um, I think it's probably better than something like watching TV all the time and stuff. Like I'm learning a lot by doing it about just working with people and also like building stuff like online, like with
Hmm.
HTML and stuff like that, or even since we have our own server now, I've been learning a lot about the back end kind of stuff with that. I don't know. It's interesting.
Okay, cool. Doing your little bit of community work instead
Yeah,
of with old people in their homes. You come entertain us online.
exactly.
Okay. So let's talk about Age of Empires 3. I already said that you played before you played. You already said you played on in the Mac community. That was on Game Ranger, right?
Yeah, but the on the Mac version of the game, if you're on Game Ranger, you can't play with people who are using the Windows version of Game Ranger.
Okay.
The game's just not compatible with each other. So the community was really small. Probably at its peak, there were maybe 200 or 300 players, but the majority of them were Nilla players, and
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't be any better than PR20 on ESO.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about that. Who did you play with? You already mentioned Kohansky and El Pistolero. Any other players that we might know about?
Um, Philnick, Stanley Winston.
He's
Those are,
the one that started the site, right?
yeah, he's the one who started ESO community, I guess,
Yeah.
almost by accident. Um, yeah, I don't know. Most of my 1v1s were with Kohensky. He and I played tons of 1v1s pretty much exclusively with each other, and occasionally with El Pistolero and Phil Nick and Stanley Winston.
Hmm.
That's kind of how I learned to play the game. We didn't really play with anyone else, honestly. Like everyone else on Mac only played team games pretty much, and when they did 1v1 us, we would always win, so
Hmm.
they weren't always interested.
Yeah. So talk a bit more about the level of competition. It was really just you five guys, or were there any others?
There were others. There was this one guy, the Joker. He was actually a lot better than me. He was probably the best Mac player, but he never worked his way onto ESO, and he eventually kind of quit the game
No,
just
that's
before
sad.
the PK Clan tournament. Partially because the newer versions of the Mac OS aren't supported by Game Ranger. So you actually, if you own a newer Mac, you actually can't play AoE 3 online
Hmm.
because Game Ranger won't work.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. There was probably a handful of players, maybe about 10 to 15 players who would be PR 30 or 35 plus ish. There's also actually one more player, Marshall Rondon. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He also goes by Portugal Armada
Oh yeah.
on ESO.
Hmm.
He was originally an ESO player, but he got a Mac and he started playing AoE 3 with us on Mac for a couple years. Now he's back on ESO.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he used to be pretty good back in the day. So what about the transition to ESO? You said you came around the time of PK Clan. How did you find the transition?
Um, yeah, so I actually thought ESO was as dead as Game Ranger was at the time. And Pistolero had been playing on ESO for a while, and I was kind of just dismissing it, like there can't be anybody good on ESO, blah blah blah. Like I was really full of myself at the time for some reason. It was like in high school, and I was considered really good among the Mac players.
Uh-huh.
And then Pistolero came back. We were playing some games, and he's like, "So there's actually a $2,000 tournament going on right now in on ESO." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He goes,
I'm gonna make some money.
yeah. He was like, "If you're interested, like I could show you. Like there's a whole bunch of like really good players coming back, like H2O and Fluky and all them like signed up." And I'm like, "That actually sounds really cool." So I checked it out and I signed up, and then I actually ended up losing in the group stage to you and Lord Raphael. Um,
Yeah, I remember those games. You did very well though. Like
I,
even then.
I shipped 3 DOPs first against your Eero. That's not doing well.
Ah,
Don't,
come on.
don't give me any credit.
Well,
um,
at the time, no one knew you, right? So we all thought like you're just some major kid or whatever. And I thought that at least you showed a lot of potential, and I think you quite lived up to that now, because you're considered like one of the dark horses for the tournament. You came, I think you were round of eight last tournament.
yeah, I got to the round of 8 and then got smashed by Samwise 4-0.
Yeah, well, it was Sam, so maybe you could have gone further if it was someone else.
I think I could have beat him, but I don't know. My playing wow, what's the word? My environment for playing over the summer wasn't ideal.
Hmm.
Uh, I didn't have a desk. I was actually playing on my bed with my laptop, and I had like a board game set up next to me for my mouse and stuff.
Hmm.
So it wasn't ideal conditions. Um, I don't know if I would have won any of the games. I think I did pretty well in the first 2 games, and I just kind of threw them away. But
Yeah, you were close to winning a few once, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Um, what about your favorite Civ? Which
um, Germany,
yeah,
Germany and Dutch probably.
and why those two?
Well, Germany is the first Civ I ended up playing when I started the game. I kind of picked it because ethnically, like my great grandparents or whatever were German, and so I just wanted to play something that I felt like I was kind of related to, so I started playing German. And I pretty much played Germany exclusively for the first year that I played AoE 3. I didn't play anything else, and I only did like this really newbie like naked FF that I found online where you age with 6 skirms, you ship a Fort Wagon as your first card and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So part of it is nostalgia, and I also just like I don't know, I just like the Civ. I don't know. Especially now in the current meta, like there's a lot of outplay potential, or maybe not outplay potential. It's just kind of OP.
Yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
it's a solid Civ to play in the current meta game.
Goodspeed told me to ask you a question about that. He told me to ask you if you're still in denial about Germany being OP.
I I'm honestly not sure. I don't know.
Oh, you just said it.
I
You
I th-
just said a little bit
I
before
think
that.
yeah, I do think they're really strong now, but I don't know if they're as strong as everybody else is making them out to be.
Well,
I
it's
feel
hard to
like
get as strong as the Hero was on the repatch, right? I mean,
yeah,
compared to
but I
that,
feel like compared to that, I don't think they're quite at that level, but
yeah,
I feel like a lot of people play incorrectly against Germany, but I haven't been able to prove it because I haven't really played against Germany much myself.
hmm
So it is. I'll admit it is a scary civ to play against. When I get like when I see a German player on quick search, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to deal with all these annoying raids, and they're
yeah.
gonna have tons of units. And
So
but
what about a favorite map?
my favorite map. Um, I don't know. I like a lot of maps in this game. I think for a long time, Siberia was my favorite map.
hmm
Um, Partially because for some reason Kowinski could never ever beat me on Siberia. I just won every single game on it and lost every other game on every other map because he was better than me at the
hmm
time. Um, but I used to like a lot of really standard maps like Siberia and Great Plains and Saguenay and stuff like that. But recently, probably within the last year or so, I've started to like the more unique maps a little bit more, like Deccan or Texas, those kinds of maps, just because they offer like a different style of play and you have to kind of play outside the box.
Yeah.
You don't really have to stick to the metagame so much.
hmm
So I don't know if I really have a particular favorite map, but I appreciate a lot of the maps, like especially like Tibet and stuff like that, where if you're not playing China anyway, if you have to kind of like play outside the box a bit and be a little bit more creative.
Yeah. Yeah, I like some of those maps too. I actually like Cascade Range and
Yeah, because
Indonesia. Yeah, Indonesia. I actually like those too.
I feel like I would like Indonesia if I could just be bothered to figure out how to play water.
Even if you
I,
don't play water, it's a pretty good map actually. I think it's
if
more
it,
fun if you don't play water, but then I have a bias against water anyway.
yeah, water is annoying. Part of the reason I haven't bothered to learn water is because I haven't set up proper hotkeys for it, so I just end up mousing everything, and that's really annoying.
hmm
So I just can't be bothered to do that.
So tell us a bit. How would you best describe your playstyle?
Um, Pretty standard, I guess. Um,
Aggressive or more defensive? What would you say?
More control oriented, I guess.
hmm
Um, I'm not I'm not sure what the best way to describe that is, but I like it's a lot like Ryan's recently because he and I played a lot of practice games for the spring tournament and even some for the summer tournament, even though he wasn't playing. So I a lot of matchups I'll play a lot like he does, maybe not as well as he does, but similarly.
hmm
And so I don't know. Basically, I think my play style is currently geared towards just getting small advantages in the early game and then kind of holding on to those advantages and increasing them over time. So
hmm
just playing in a safe way where you can't really lose, but I don't know if I'd call it defensive
All right.
exactly.
I understand what you mean. So last one about this general AOE. Age one treasures, luck or skill.
Skill.
Skill. So
Well,
tell us a bit about your famed scouting pattern then.
okay, so I don't know. A lot of people always get really mad, like when they lose like treasures, like their opponent gets like 140 food and stuff like that, and they're just still at their base, like picking up 50 coin and stuff like that.
hmm
I feel like with a lot of maps, there are patterns that you can kind of see when you're, I don't know, when you're just playing the map. There are a lot of patterns that um, occur consistently when
hmm
you play multiple games on the map. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but
Yeah, yes. Most
uh,
treasures have like an area where they will spawn, right?
yeah,
Or
so there'll be like a group of treasures or like hunts and mines and stuff like that. They all spawn in the same general location,
hmm
even if it is slightly different every game.
yeah.
So if you pay attention to like where the stuff spawns, you can actually kind of guess like where the good treasures and stuff like that is going to spawn and where your hunt's going to be. So if you really like pay attention, then you can save time in the early game scouting and get advantages by heading straight to those locations and stuff like that.
I agree, but even all of that does not explain why you always get 140 food on high plains.
I'm map hacking, dude.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to hear. Uh,
No,
we got you now, so the interview's over. We're just gonna escort you to jail.
yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I've got a lot of I've got a pretty efficient scouting pattern down recently, I think.
All right, don't give away all your secrets. Um, so let's talk a little bit about the fem patch balance. I won't uh, ask too many questions. Just what do you think about the current balance? About aero and auto changes and all that.
Um, Honestly, I think Otto was kind of almost buffed in some ways.
Hmm.
I don't know if the Abyss nerf really hurts them at all
It
because with
does, yeah.
it does, but a lot of the time when you're playing auto, you don't really want to commit to a fight anyway. You just kind of want to just like shoot them and you want to back away and you want to shoot them again later. Like
Hmm.
you just take your time and you kind of hit and run, do what damage you can.
Hmm.
And the rate of fire nerf doesn't hurt that too much because most of the time they can't really catch you
Yeah,
because Abyss guns outrange most units in H2 and especially now in Fortress since they have 20 range.
yeah, yeah. The
Like
fortress
even
one is definitely a buff.
yeah,
A bit.
even skirms can't catch them. So I don't know if that was really if Apis guns were really nerfed all that much. And the Mameluke change, um, Mameluke change was a nerf, I guess, but
It's pretty
I,
big, to be honest, especially for ports, actually. Although ports have been buffed quite
yeah, I
significantly,
didn't.
so
I,
it's
I
alright.
personally didn't. I personally didn't really have much of a problem with the five Mameluke card, but um, I don't know. I Mamelukes are definitely really strong, so maybe four is okay.
The biggest change actually for auto would probably be is the one that was not intentional. I think that's the minus 10 HP on the Jans. That's actually pretty huge, because
Yeah,
most units take one less hit to kill them now.
that's true. I forget about that change,
Yeah,
but I still think Auto is probably the top civ for sure.
yeah, they're still strong. I think overall, I wouldn't say they're buffed, but they're definitely not nerfed either. They're quite the same actually.
Yeah.
And what about Aero?
Um, I don't know. I haven't played enough Eero, I think, to really say if they're strong or weak. Sometimes I feel like they're really weak now, and sometimes I feel like they're still quite good. It's possible that they're still like pretty matchup dependent,
Hmm.
or not. Why am I saying still matchup dependent? Now they're pretty matchup dependent.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think they still have some really good matchups, like against China, for example. I don't think there's any way that China
Yeah,
can beat
well,
Eero.
that matchup was so Aero favored before, right? That maybe now it's still Aero favored even after their nerf. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be
I,
hard
I
to say.
still I still think Eero is pretty strong in Fortress and in maybe mid Colonial, but
Yeah.
it's good that their early game is not nearly as overwhelming as before.
Hmm. And so, what would you say is the top save at the moment?
Auto.
Just Auto, or are there any other civs that's come close? Germany, for example.
Um,
Maybe Brits or China.
I think I think it's pretty much Auto, and then like just below Auto, there's like a group of civs that are all relatively equal, or they all have chances of taking games off each other, like German, French, Brit, India, China, Japan. Like they're all close enough, I think, that you can't really say one's better than the other. Maybe Germany has a slight edge over all the other civs in the current meta, but
Hmm. Oh, it's interesting because yesterday, or not yesterday, a few days ago, Samwise was saying something entirely different. But
I think he said Germany was like the top civ
yeah,
now.
yeah. But
I think.
he said that Auto was actually nerfed quite
Right.
hard. So you're kind of on the other side of the spectrum. So and any worse civs still the same, all the usual suspects, or any changes there? What about Dutch imports that were considered one of the weakest, and now they have received buffs? Are they still weak, or would you say
I
they?
think I think Dutch is still quite weak. They do have some decent like they do better in a lot of matchups now, like especially against civs like Japan and China, where they can get to fortress really easily and abuse their six banks. Um, Maybe against India as well. That matchup was surprisingly. I felt like that matchup was surprisingly close on a repatch, and maybe now on ESOC patch, it's not. It's not. It might be even closer. Like I'm not sure. I'm not sure who wins that matchup, honestly.
Okay.
But I think for the most part, if you play correctly against Dutch, they can't really get away with building those extra banks, and they're kind of just the same as before.
Yeah. But
Um,
they're also the bank upgrades and the bank XP, right? So
yeah, the bank XP is nice. It makes their build go a little bit more smoothly. But depending on the build you do, like Dutch can't always use their cards right away.
hmm
Like in H2, like if you're doing bank wagon first, and then you ship something like 700 wood, and you want to drop down like two more banks or something, like you can't use that 700 wood immediately because you don't have enough food to make those banks. So
yeah, that's true.
it's not always as useful, and sometimes you don't even want to send a card right away because you want to save it for a fortress or something. But
hmm
once you do have four or five or even six banks, it adds up a bit to kind of help you out in early fortress. So it's an okay change.
All right. Um, let's talk a little bit about summer tournament. You had a pretty good run. We already talked about that you were unfortunate enough to draw Samwise in the round of 8, and you got steamrolled 4-0. But some of the matches were pretty close at times. And can you tell us a bit about your improvement over since ever since you joined PK4 and you sent 3 doppels to now, where you're considered one of the best Germany players in the game at the moment?
Well, when I first started playing on ESO, um, I didn't really understand the metagame very well. Like the metagame on Mac was very different. Maybe partially because it was a different patch, and partially because our best players, I guess, were lieutenant colonel level at best. So like PR 32, 33. And so we just kind of did a lot of suboptimal strats. Like, for example, um, what's a good example? When I was playing Germany at the time, I would rarely like semi FF before like 11 minutes. I would just make like 100 Ulans in H2 and just
hmm
stay H2 for a really long time and ship like three settler wagons and two settler wagons, which is not always the best. And
Yeah, I remember that actually from one of the games I played with you early, where you would always Germany H2. You would make bow pikes against
yeah, yeah.
Russia, and then you would stay H2 forever.
Did you ever watch the game I played against Lord Raphael in the group stage of that tournament?
I prob I
He
probably
was
did
playing
back then.
French, and I went Da Boulon because Da Boulon was I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you don't micro, I suppose.
yeah, I was also uh, when I first moved to ESO, I also had just started using a mouse. When I was on Mac, I always used a trackpad.
That's crazy, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. On my MacBook, like the trackpad was pretty good, and there was an easier way to right click than on most PC trackpads where you have like two buttons and stuff.
Oh yeah,
On Mac, it's just one button, and you can hold down another button on the keyboard,
oh yeah.
kind of like a hotkey to right click. So you don't ever have to take your finger off of the one click
Mm.
key, and you can just it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, when I moved to ESO, I had to like change all of my hotkeys and stuff because I even had right-handed hotkeys because my right hand was so close to the keyboard.
hmm
I had to change them all and get used to playing with a mouse and stuff like that. And I stuck. I think I was stuck at PR like 32 or 33 or something like that for like 2 years after I started playing on ESO. And then
Wow, I don't know. PK2 was 2 years ago, I think. So maybe a year.
it was 2000, the end of 2013, I think.
Yeah, so 2 years ago.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know. I didn't really start making any serious improvements until I eventually started playing on Zuda's stream a bit, and rewatching that gave me a lot of insight into the game and stuff I wasn't really thinking about.
Hmm. You also practiced a lot with Ryan. Can you tell us a bit about that? How is it to play with the water boy?
Yeah, so when we were trying to come up with the format and stuff for the spring tournament, Ryan offered to help me and Ward with it at the time, and part of that just turned into us playing practice games with each other all the time. And I would lose every single game, no matter how close he came to losing. I would still be the loser in the end. Um, but I think it helped me a lot. Like there's a lot of stuff I also didn't think about at the time that I don't know, I got used to thinking about, and playing against him challenged me mechanically as well, so that improved.
Hmm.
But it wasn't good enough to make it out of the round of 64 in the spring tournament. So
You didn't make it out of the round of 64 in spring.
no, I got bashed by Venny 2-0.
Oh yeah, I remember that actually. There was
Yeah,
a lot of jokes about that.
every,
Let's not
yeah,
talk too much
everybody
about
had
that though.
everybody had bet on me, and I ruined all of their
Yeah,
all. Of
I bet
the
on you for sure, and you ruined all our
Yep.
hopes. So let's talk a bit about people you've played against. Who would be the best player you ever played? Was it Samwise in summer, maybe Ryan, or was it Venny? Or someone else maybe?
It was. It's. I mean, do you mean like seriously, like in
Yeah, yeah, just the
tournament
player
setting?
you'd say that that you had the hardest time against, like the best player you played.
I think Ryan's the best player I've played against. Maybe Blackstar. I haven't played a whole lot against Blackstar though,
Hmm.
um, just because of my time zone. I wasn't on at the same time as a lot of European players. So
Yeah.
yeah, I played a lot with Ryan. I think he's probably the best player that I've played against.
Hmm. So you would put him above Samwise.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. He won't be happy to hear. He'll if he gets you again, be sure to
I'm
practice
gonna
because
get.
he
I'm
will.
gonna get. I'm gonna get kicked out of our clan. I'm only applicant in our clan.
Yeah, the biggest dictator is probably Samwise, although he pretends to be a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, behind the scenes, not so much.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the end of the last few questions here. Any players you're looking out for this winter tournament?
Obviously Ryan and Samwise. I think also the people I'm most afraid of, other than Ryan and Sam, probably Lord Raphael, um, Garja, and maybe you as well. Who else is playing?
Diaruga is playing. Prince of Kabul. Kinesi. Wicked Cossack signed up.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm glad he signed up. Yeah, I think probably you guys are the ones I'm most afraid of. Maybe Prince of Kabul as well.
Hmm. So any predictions for the final four? Who would you say would be top four, or should be top four? Like you never know how the brackets work out, of course, but
Um, Probably in top four, I would expect probably Ryan and Sam, obviously, and then again either Lord Raphael, Garja, or yourself.
and what about yourself? Do you think you'll beat your top eight appearance of last tournament?
I think I have a good chance, but I'm not going to overstep myself.
Last time you were pretty confident, though.
We'll wait. We'll see. We'll see.
All
I'll
right,
prove it with my play and not with my words.
all right. Thank you very much, Mito. I'll see you in the tournament.
Yeah.